I'm assuming since you clicked on this video, you know who Metallica is. If you don't, search bar's right there. Type in Metallica. Listen to this whole discography. Come back to this video. Leave a like because, like, obviously you're gonna want to do that. Leave a subscription too while you're here. I mean, it doesn't take that much. And then you can come back here and discuss this with us. We're gonna be counting down the albums. Just a few rules before we get into it. No EPs, so no Beyond Magnetic, and we're not counting Lulu. If it was here, I guess it would be a little bit over St. Anger. Maybe? I don't fucking know. Let's get right into it though. Coming in at dead last on this list, we have 2003's St. Anger, which if you didn't know was going to be here, let me be the first to tell you should know this by now. So let me get the obvious stuff out of the way. No guitar solos I feel is a problem. Whether or not you like Kirk's solos from post Black Album or not, yeah, they should be. They're a staple of Metallica's sound. They should be there. The overall production on this album is just not great at all. Like, you look at the drum sound, which everybody knows is god awful. Even the guitar sound, which is down tuned to C, doesn't sound great. Which is truly a shame because Bob Rock, in my opinion, produced the best sounding Metallica albums. From Black Album to Reload is just great production overall, especially James's sound. And then the songwriting I feel is the biggest problem on the album. So many songs could have been cut down. There's some great highlights like The Unnamed Feeling I feel is a fantastic song and the best one on the album. Frantic is a pretty good song and so is St. Anger. Sweet Amber's not bad either, but besides that, like, Purify feels and Invisible Kid are two of the worst Metallica songs by far. If you're gonna listen to this album, I recommend that you listen to the live and rehearsals. The production overall is way better. If they just used that for the album, it would have made it for a better album. So, coming in at dead last, St. Anger. Coming in at our next spot, we have Reload, which I'm gonna start off by saying I don't hate this album at all. I think there's some great highlights. Where the Wild Things Are, Slither, Fuel the Memory Remains, just to name a few. And also, Devil's Dance, I think, are pretty good songs. Like, even some of them I would say are great songs, but just there's so much extra on this album that doesn't need to be there, like Carpe Diem Baby, Low Man's Lyric, just to name a few, because I can't think of any other ones, which probably isn't a good thing when you come to think of an album. Just, if there was less on the album overall, it would be a better album. Like, you know, it's a big problem with all the Metallica albums that rank lower on the list. It's just, if they cut some of the crap out, it would be a way better album for it. I feel like this album, obviously, you can tell, isn't as good as Load. It's not as strong in production, I would say, to Load, but it's still Metallica. This, Load, and the Black Album are Metallica's three best produced albums, in my opinion. But besides that, there's really not much more to say in this album besides, for every great highlight there is, there's also a part that just brings it down. So, next up, we're going to be talking about 2008's Death Magnetic, and there's some great highlights on this album, just like Reload. The Day That Never Comes, That Was Just Your Life, All Nightmare Long, My Apocalypse are all pretty great songs in their own right. Personally, I think My Apocalypse is the best song on the album. And I know I'm saying, like, you just, like, half the album you just listed, and you said it's good, so why is it not higher, just compared to other albums? But overall, I feel like The Unforgiven 3 is by far the best Unforgiven, in my opinion, which is, this whole fucking video is my opinion, so if you don't agree with it, go fuck yourself. But I don't know. The production on it is so condensed and it brings the whole album down. It doesn't bog you down in like a death metal, like, atmospheric way. It's more of like, why is it so fucking compressed? Like, Rick Rubin, Greg, get your shit together because I don't want to hear the album like this. Overall, not a bad album. Cyanide, Broken, Beaten, and Scarred, and the end of the line could have been cut from the album, would have been no problem. And even Suicide and Redemption, I don't think it's an awful song. I don't think it adds a whole lot to the album besides the James solo. So overall, I would put it bottom of Metallica albums. Not awful, but just acceptable, I guess, which probably isn't the best thing after St. Anger. Next is 2016's Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Now, Hardwired to Self-Destruct is obviously Metallica's most recent album, and it has a lot of strong points. The whole first side, except for Now That We're Dead, I think is the worst song on the album. Besides Now That We're Dead, Atlas Rise, the opener Hardwired is a great song. Moth in the Flame is a fucking killer riff. Dream No More's heavy as shit. So it's the first 6 songs, out of them 5 out of 6 is a good ratio. Going on to the side 2 though is where it really starts to get iffy. Confusion is overall just kind of a lackluster track. Nothing really special there. I like the lyrical concept, but the execution of the whole song overall is just, it's whatever in my opinion. Man Unkind is probably my favorite song on the album besides the last song on the album. Here Comes Revenge I think is forgettable. People love that song. I just think it's okay, if anything. not insanely memorable. In my opinion, it's the most forgettable song on the album. Murder One is okay. It tries to be super heavy. I don't really think it is, to be honest. I mean, it's a good tribute to Lemmy. Lemmy's awesome. R.I.P. Lemmy, obviously, but it's whatever. And I know I'm missing one, but fuck it, whatever. Last song in the album, Spit Out the Bone. I have no words for this song. This song is fucking fantastic from beginning to end. Has the best riff on the record, the best vocals on the record, besides Halo on Fire, I guess, because it's technically a harder song to sing. But Spit Out the Bone is just fantastic. If you haven't heard this song because you're too afraid to go into the new Metallica catalog, it's by far the best you're going to find. And I think it rivals some of the stuff on Master, Ride. And I think it's better than almost all the songs like Kill 'Em All. So, there you go, Hardwired. Next up is by far the most underrated album in all of Metallica's catalog, Load. Like I said with Reload, it's kind of the same thing. If you put those two albums together, you get one awesome album. But there's a lot of just, not filler, I just don't think they're good songs. Like 2x4 originally, if you listen to the original tempo of it, is way faster, but they slowed it down for some fucking reason. Ain't My Bitch, I kind of think is whatever. Thorn Within, whatever. Like, there's a bunch of whatevers, but there's also some fucking jewels in there, like The House That Jack Built is an amazing song. Bleeding Me, I think, is a fantastic song. Hero of the Day, I don't think is amazing. I think it's an okay song. Slightly above average, I guess, and compared to the rest of Metallica's catalog. The Outlaw Torn is, for me, top 5 Metallica songs. I think it's fantastic. Just the lyrical concept of it, overall the instrumentation of it is fantastic. Wasting My Hate's a great song, but I just, for how much, it's a better version of Reload. The highlights are better in my opinion, but I feel like there's also less filler than Hardwired, than Death Magnetic, than all the rest of them. So overall, I think it's a better album than those, but because of the songs holding it down, I feel like you can't put it any higher than that. Next album's the debut, which I know some people are going to be like, oh, that's so low, what are you doing? There's not a lot of better albums than this. And I'm like, you're wrong. For debuts, obviously, fantastic. One of the most influential albums of all time, debatably, with that original lineup of, I mean, if you count Ron, okay, but Cliff, Dave, James, and Lars, the beginning of metal, technically. The first track, Hit the Lights, just starts the album. That opening of the chords, just fan-fucking-tastic. Gets you really excited, hyped up. The Four Horsemen is probably my favorite metal song ever. Just overall, I just fucking love it. Like, Dave Mustaine, thank you. Thank you for giving me this in my life. Motorbreath's pretty kick-ass. Jump in the Fire is pretty kick-ass. Bass solo, take one. I don't even have to say anything besides that. It's fucking amazing. It goes right into Whiplash. Whiplash is fucking killer. And it's straight, pure thrash. Just kick-ass. No Remorse is a great fucking track. Probably the best riff on the album. Just James riffing on that is just fantastic. Phantom Lord's a great track. Seek and Destroy set list, permanently in the set list till the day Metallica stops playing for a reason. And then Metal Militia is a great ender to an album, straight thrash too. There's really not much you can say. Overall, it's a great, you could see the development from Kill 'Em All to Ride. It all starts with Kill 'Em All, and you could really tell that there was going to be something more to come. Next on the list, Metallica's Black Album. Now, this also could seem a little too low, or some people would say too high. You know, it depends on the kind of person you are. I'd put it somewhere in between. Production on this album is, first of all, the first thing I'm going to talk about is it's perfect. Like, if you've ever watched the documentary of how they made this album, the techniques they used are just killer. Like, it's insane the length that they went to get the sound that they wanted, and they ultimately did, because it ended up being, in my opinion, the best sounding Metallica album, sonically. Enter Sandman, everyone knows, The Unforgiven, Nothing Else Matters, Wherever I May Roam, Sad But True. These are all iconic songs and staple songs for a reason. They're all very well known and popular songs because there's just something about them that's fantastic. I just want to point out there are other songs on this album, like The Struggle Within is a great fucking track. I don't know why it doesn't get enough recognition. Holier Than Thou, which they thought was going to be the biggest song on the album, there's a reason for it. It's fucking killer riff. It's short and sweet, which is more of a callback to the earlier stuff, which I personally like. This is the most debatable Metallica album, I guess, but there you go. Now, before we get into the order of the top 3, I just want to point out the top 3 could go in any order. Depends on the fan you talk to. So obviously I'm going to have my own. You'll probably have your own. And if it's different than mine, you're wrong. So you should just listen to mine. So number 3, 1984's Ride the Lightning. Now, Ride the Lightning, I know a bunch of you are going to say, oh, how is that not first? It's the best one. And let me tell you why, okay? So, let me just start off with how fucking amazing this record is. The thing I'm going to talk about that I don't like, and probably the only thing I really don't like about this album, production-wise, is the sound of the overall just reverb on the album. There's a fucking ton of reverb on the album, which doesn't kill it for me, obviously, because this album it's amazing. It's an amazing record, period. So, like, you know, you could say the production's not perfect, but it really doesn't matter. The tracks, Fight Fire with Fire is a kick-ass intro. Fooling the Bell Tolls is just an amazing track. When you hear Cliff just ripping on the bass, it's perfect. Like, it's amazing. Ride the Lightning is a great track. Like, I don't even have to talk about the fucking guitar solo, and it's like insane. Fade to Black, which is probably the most, like, I wouldn't say biggest song on the album, but it's definitely the biggest leap Metallica took at this point in their career, and it absolutely paid off. It's beautiful acoustics, which sound great, sonically sound fantastic. The lyrical content is great as always. Now I'm not gonna forget about fucking The Call of Cthulhu, which in my opinion might be, I don't even know, it probably is my favorite Metallica instrumental, but all three of the original three are just, like, I don't even know how to describe it besides saying perfect. It's an amazing record if you haven't heard it. I don't know what the fuck you're doing here, listening to some idiot on the internet talk about it. Go listen to it, and then come back here and be like, damn, you were right. So number 3, Ride the Lightning. Number 2, we're going to talk about the second best Metallica album, which is Injustice for All. Now, I know what you're thinking. Bronco, how are you going to bitch at other albums' production and have Justice so high? 1, it's my list, so go fuck yourself. 2, Justice, if you're going to take out the production, say you're upset with the bass, which not, like, okay, I get that. You could be upset about that. But the songs themselves, even with the production, the dry sounding production, especially on the guitar, like, James's tone carries this record by far. If James's tone was shit, this album would be way lower just because it wouldn't sound great. But the track list, Blackened, the best Metallica intro track, Blackened, insane. Like, it's Blackened. Like, that's all I can really say about it. Justice is a great track. It, like, who would think that you could make a song about 9 minutes long with pretty much just one riff and it would sound fucking killer? Love it. Harvester of Sorrows, a great track, which, you know, in and out of the set list for the years, but it's a killer track. 1 is an amazing track. Set list staple for a reason, iconic song for a reason. My personal favorite song on the album is Shortest Straw. Shortest Straw, Lars's drum fills are just fucking on fire there. To Live Is to Die, amazing instrumental tribute to Cliff. You haven't heard that, I don't know what the fuck you're doing here once again. Eye of the Beholders, great track too. I wish they would play it live more, just like everyone else, but if you're going to talk about it on the album, it's fucking insane. The chorus is super catchy too, which is really weird for this album, at least for me. Then the last track, Dyer's Eve. Lars's double kicks all the way through. I wouldn't say blast beating, but the double kick all the way through is fantastic. The riff itself is complicated as shit. It has probably the best solos from Kirk Hammett overall on this album. I know I was talking about Dyer's Eve solo is fantastic, but the Shortest Straw solo is fucking insane. 1 solo is iconic. Dyer's Eve solo, as I said, is amazing. So, easily number 2 for me, depending on the day. It could be 1, but I really don't think it is. Which brings us to number 1, which is Master of Puppets. Now, let me just preface this. This is the second best thrash metal album of all time, period. So, if there's only one album that's better than it, clearly it's the best in the fucking discography. It's just, if you take Ride the Lightning, and a lot of people love Ride the Lightning, you just upgrade it just a little bit, just the little things that were wrong, just a little production-wise. You get Master of Puppets, which songwriting on this album is insane. So Batteries, it's Fight Fire with Fire, but done better, in my opinion. It really just gets the blood pumping, like you want to just start a pit right in your fucking room. It's awesome. Master of Puppets, one of the greatest metal songs ever written. The harmony in it is beautiful. The clean acoustic part, beautiful. Just a killer track all the way through. It's a reason it's one of the most iconic songs ever. The Thing That Should Not Be is heavy as shit, even on the album. Like, I know I'm a big live version guy, so listening to a live version of it, like from '89 in Seattle, is fantastic, but just heavy as shit, man. Like, no other way to describe that one. Disposable Heroes is probably the most underrated song in all of Metallica's catalog. Just 8 minutes of pure thrash and riff, pure heavy metal amazingness. Yeah, it's a great word. Sanitarium is beautiful and haunting at the same time. It's a great atmosphere, especially the reverb on the guitars really adds such an ambiance to the whole track. And when it explodes into the main bridge riff, it's fucking killer. I mean, I could keep going on and on about this album. Damage Inc., top 5 Metallica song ever. I fucking love that riff. Then, of course, Orion, which is, I know I said Cthulhu is my favorite, but Orion could easily be it, depending on the day. Just, the harmonies in that song are fantastic. And it makes you feel emotion in such a way, only using instruments, that it just leaves you speechless. I have no words for how fucking amazing that song is. Production-wise on this record, it's fantastic. They really took everything that they didn't like about Ride, and what I didn't like about Ride, I guess, which was the reverb, and they completely dialed it back in a good way, and it made the production sound fucking massive. Like, this album is such a masterpiece to the point where the artwork on it is just says so much about the album. You pick up the album, it's got the crosses with the dog tag and the helmet. It just says so much about the fucking album, and it evokes such an emotion before you even like pick it up. So I have no other words besides this is second best metal album ever for me, and I think could easily beat one if you really wanted to. But it's a perfect record, and I have no other words besides go listen to it, because it's fucking amazing. And that's it for ranking all the Metallica albums. Tell me what you thought down below. You think I'm right? Say to Rocker, you did a great fucking job. Do this instead of playing covers. And I'll be like, alright dude, you think that was awful, and you think my list is retarded? Dude, tell me why Saint Anger is the best Metallica album. Do that down below. While you're down there, leave a like. Also hit the subscribe button for more videos like this, possibly. Who knows? I don't. That's really all I got for you guys. Peace.